Hi, this is Scott from Origin of Speakeasies. I'm excited to announce the next podcast from Speakeasies, Personal Records. Personal Records is a podcast that explores the relationships between people and the albums they love. So pay attention to this feed and I'll have more to share very soon. In the meantime, go to speakeasies.com/personalrecords for more information. I haven't seen any of the Avengers movies, and I feel like
really?
None of them.
Interesting.
I saw Winter Soldier, which I fairly enjoyed, but
Right.
and I saw Thor. I saw part of Thor Ragnarok, which I enjoyed.
That's my favorite one.
And I think I watched that on your recommendation because it has a good sense of humor about it. So.
Yeah, I don't get into religiously. I think what probably benefited me the most was a couple winters ago that it was that one really cold winter we had, and we were in lockdown. Like I decided I might as well catch up on all these movies, which kind of helped.
I mean, they're good. I mean, I want to see them because I like, in a way, this is what movie making is all about. Is like, big budget action superhero flicks. You know?
Yeah, but so I went from kind of being on the fence about these, not really too interested. I actually saw Avengers on the first Friday it was out, the new one.
Yeah, you told me you went and saw it, and I was actually like, when you texted me, I was like, oh, first, the one thing I know about you is that you don't go on opening weekend.
Well, I don't like
Friday night.
I don't like animals, and I certainly don't like people.
We have a new quote to put on the website.
But I made sure I went at a time that was early. It was very late afternoon, and the theater by my house now has all reserved seats.
Really?
Yeah, for everything.
Well, you talking about the one right there?
Yeah,
at Short Pump.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you drive, even if you go up and get tickets at the window, you're gonna pick your seats out.
And so that must have just happened.
Yeah.
Well, what's been interesting is speaking about that movie theater. I was there, I don't know, a couple months ago, and it kind of made me sad. It seems a little old now, and like
it is.
I remember when it was the new theater, it just came up, and I was telling the person who I was with, like, it just makes me feel old because. Anyway, so they've gone to assigned seating.
Yeah, but that worked out well. So if you plan ahead, I have my strategic seats. Which worked out well.
Which are your? I'm just out of curiosity. Which are your strategic seats? You do like the you don't want to give away your secret.
Actually, don't.
Okay, fair enough. I respect that.
I'll tell you offline.
Okay,
but I won't have it recorded. So I went, and actually, what I do like about opening nights, especially with nerd movies, is that everyone's generally pretty quiet and shuts their face, so they'll listen to it. So that was helpful too. My preferred nerd idiom is Star Wars, and I'm the guy that I will see the first showing of the first. Right. When that comes out, and that's a nerd religious experience too. Yes. Everyone shuts up during that, but it was actually pretty good. So I don't know.
The thing before you get into it, the thing that I like, the word nerd gets thrown around. People talk about being nerds, one way or the other, and it's almost like nerd has become cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. People like to call themselves nerds, but there is nothing nerdier than going to a Star Wars movie on like the opening weekend, and like as soon as the Lucasfilms things come up, there's like you hear a bunch of like 40-year-old guys kind of giggle and get excited. And
that's me. That's me sitting next to you.
I know.
That's what you're
in there's different types of nerds. Like I'm a fantasy nerd. Like I like the Tolkien and the Robert Jordan and the George Martin and all that. Whereas I never was, and I like sci-fi, but I just never was a Star Wars nerd. But so, of course, I can judge the Star Wars, guys. But let me tell you, as soon as the first Wheel of Time thing comes out, I'm going to be doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
So
now that we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
What's your stance on costumes?
I'm against them. Like I don't think like wearing them to the thing.
Yeah, but Wheel of Time gonna test you on that or?
The way that I'm built. Like thinking about it, there's only, this is centered around protagonists that are all, like teenagers and stuff. But now that you said that, I could do a mean Tom Maryland. So he's the Gleeman. You want to hear more about Tom Maryland?
I have no idea what you just said.
Okay. Well, so I said I'm against them, but I think in the right circumstance, I would absolutely wear. But the problem is it's not a movie. It's an Amazon series. Mm-hmm. So I'd just be at home by myself, and probably 3 Sheets Girl would come.
But that's probably the best thing. You could have your dragon outfit or whatever you would wear, dress up like a wizard, and no one would see you.
Yeah, I'll have some other fellow nerds, but we'll be live tweeting it together. So
there you go. I think it'd be better if you went to the movie theater dressed up than to live tweet something.
So, but you like the Back to the Avengers?
Yeah, it was really good. I was actually I went into it kind of like I felt obligated to see it, but if it was the worst movie ever, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. It was really good. I was surprised how good it was. I enjoyed it. Yeah,
and that came out the same day as the Battle of Winterfell, and you're not a Game of Thrones guy, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I did watch that, and it was a little hard to follow. So I need to rewatch it, but that's 2 big things coming out in one weekend.
Yeah,
so.
There's a lot of Hawaiian Punch was sold. Yeah, a lot of Skittles purchased.
A lot of Code Red Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to Origin of Speaksies. I'm Scott. I'm here with my friend Steve, and tonight, Steve, we are going to unveil a different side of me that you haven't seen before.
Okay.
Which is, well, maybe you have, but I don't know if the listeners have. And this is going to be Negative Scott.
Negative Scott.
So we've got Positive Steve this year.
So you're going to bounce. Is this an animal theme episode?
No, it could be, but it's not.
Right.
This is going to be an episode about phrases that really get under my skin that I really, really dislike. And there were a bunch to choose from, but the ones that, the first one we're going to talk about is cool beans.
Cool beans.
And this is one that, oh man, I feel like it's said by people that are trying to be wacky or trying to be like, I think it is kind of his youth leader lingo a little bit too. Like,
I could see that.
I mean, it's just, I don't think I've ever heard you say cool beans, right?
I think I've said it before. I don't think it's like in my general lexicon. But I might have said that. It's kind of like almost another way to say, okay. If I've used it, like, okay, all right, just kind of like a placeholder.
That's the thing. Yeah, because it's sort of like it's not it's not that superlative. Mm-hmm. Like, it's the best thing ever. Cool beans, but it's also like supposed to be good. I guess it's an extension of something that's cool.
So I haven't been using it right. So this is used to say something is superlative.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying you've been using it exactly right, which is it's more of a placeholder and just something to say. And this is, I mean, really, cool beans kind of means whatever you want it to mean. This is something that gets said, I think, in the workplace a lot, or at least in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And look, if you want to say cool beans, that's fine. But just know that there are legions of people that despise this saying. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this was somebody at work said cool beans, and then we all were like, oh my gosh, like, don't say cool beans around me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, this would be good for the podcast. So I started researching it. It's a very hated phrase, like across the board.
Okay.
The more I went into it, I found probably the most fun part of even researching this episode was reading the comments about cool beans. So there are a couple things about cool beans that I found interesting. One was many people would like go to these sites that talk about etymology or where did this phrase come from and go in the comments section. And there were 2 types of people. There were people that would be like, oh my gosh, I hate this. I have a coworker that says this all the time and it's so stupid. And then you'd have other people that were like taking credit for inventing cool beans.
Okay.
So I want to read you a couple of these comments. And
sure.
Normally the comments section is the worst.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is you're trying to be negative, but if you're actually gleaning something good from a comment section, this might be like a...
Well, this is like when you try to be positive. It doesn't always pan out. Same thing with me trying to be negative. So... Oh, and by the way, the other thing is, so I said people try to take credit for inventing it, but like people also are saying, no, this is something that, comes from this region. Like everyone wants to like either claim it or they say they hate it. So before we get into like some of the what I think are apocryphal explanations for where cool beans came from. I just want to read some of the comments. So in one of them, this was what it said. This is a guy named Al Rodriguez from San Antonio, Texas. Mm-hmm. And the comment section came from a place called Word Detective, where someone tried to come out and explain where cool beans came from. And he said, "Gentlemen, : I don't know if I am the first to coin the phrase cool beans, but it has been part of my speech since the early 70s. It came from a variation of the cartoon phrase, holy for holies, which I altered to cool beans. I used to speak the phrase to my family and on the road, which included much of the Northeast. My children picked it up as well, and they use it all around the country. Sincerely, Al Rodriguez, San Antonio, Texas."
Man.
So, I mean...
He's bringing it with the confidence. I'll give him that.
Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting that Al Rodriguez claims to have known it.
Yeah. And he actually took the time to write it down and say that also, which...
That's right. So he came to in part of me, I picture Al just sort of going, I'm starting to hear cool beans more. I need to kind of get into these, kind of let people know. Because what if he did? What if you did start the phrase and you get no credit for it? So on the flip side, we had Lauren, who said, "I first heard the phrase in 1991, and I hoped that I would never hear it again. The phrase was overused by administrators and middle managers. Using the phrase was an effort for uncool people to step outside of their bubble. I still hate the phrase. Sincerely, Lauren."
So when she says it that way, I'm kind of having a Pieces of Flair sort of moment, like you're at an Applebee's or a Chowski's or something like that, and you're required to use that.
Yeah, there was another article I found, which I didn't print off, so I can't cite where it's from, but the guy basically goes on talking about how there's nothing more uncool than the phrase cool beans. And all right, so here's some of the places where cool beans supposedly came from. The one that I saw the most was Cheech and Chong. So people said that there's a quote in Cheech and Chong. First of all, I've never seen a Cheech and Chong movie. Have you? Are you into?
Actually, I wouldn't say I'm into it. I've seen several of them. So something very important here.
Yeah.
Because we had, I think one of our last recordings did not bring in Paul Rubens, aka Pee Wee Herman, is in.
Oh.
In actually, I believe multiple movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe now I'll have to go back and watch, because I found all these places that kept talking about this quote from, like, it started with Urban Dictionary, and then everywhere else had it too, where they said, Cheech says something about, "Hey man, this car is all made of weed," and Chong goes, "Cool beans." But then I find places. Here's what was so great: you had, I mean, I'm telling you, at least like 5 different places where people were saying it's purported to come from Up in Smoke. I haven't watched it. Like, nobody would put in the time to watch it. And I was like, I'm not either. Like, and then finally I found an article where they said, this is not true. Like, it was not said by Cheech and Chong. We don't know why. Like, all over the internet, people think it was by Cheech and Chong.
Right.
But it wasn't, because the guys don't even realize that their van is made of pot during the whole movie. So that quote doesn't make sense. Some of the other ones, like a really boring one, had to do with the fact that it was developed in the mid-19th century and beans have to be stored in a cool place to be good. It's like, no, that has nothing to do with it.
Right.
One that I found somewhat interesting was that it was slang for like drugs or LSD back in, I guess, the 60s.
And someone that took LSD in the 60s. I'm not familiar with that.
Right. So it says in the 1960s, Quaaludes, amphetamines, and barbiturates, known as uppers and downers, were referred to as cool beans because they resemble jelly beans. So
I can see a middle school.
Yeah, we had textbooks that uppers and goofballs, and reminds me of Dragnet. Those kids are all hopped up on goofballs. Then there's a one that says that it was in a book in 1985 called Grandpa Ritz and the Luscious Lovelies, published by Scribner Books, and on page 30,
that's a book, not a beta only VHS or videotape.
Grandpa Ritz and the Luscious Lovelies, and in one scene someone says it's cool beans. Okay, so that's true. So it was in 1985. It was around, but the biggest theory, other than Cheech and Chong, was that it was something that DJ Tanner from Full House
All right, here we
said repeatedly. And Full House is known for catchphrases. So this one I thought had to be it.
I would think so.
But I can't find it. I can't find any footage of DJ Tanner saying cool beans. I still think, I'm sure she did say it.
Right.
But that got me thinking about other catchphrases from Full House. So
please share.
We're going to play a little game here. I'm going to say the Full House catchphrase. I want you to tell me which character you think said it.
Okay.
Did you watch Full House or?
Bob Saget's in it. John Stamos is in it. The guy that had sex with Alanis Morissette's in it.
Yep, exactly.
And the Olsen twins.
Okay.
And the college lady.
Yeah.
Have I got them all?
The college lady. Yeah. So, who do you think it was that said, not the hair?
John Stamos.
Ding, 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 ding. Good job. Oh, my Lanta.
Olsen twins. College lady. Guy that had sex with Alanis Morissette.
Oh, no. I'm going to just tell you.
No.
It's
3 strikes and I'm out.
One of the greatest DJ names, by the way, which I wish I could have, but somebody already has it, which is DJ Tanner. DJ Tanner. That was a DJ one. Oh, my Lanta. All right. You got it, dude.
Oh, that's Olsen twins.
Yes, that's Olsen twins, a.k.a. Michelle Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please.
Olsen twins?
Yeah, there you go. All right, last one I'm going to give you. How rude.
Olsen twins.
No. See, I mixed it up on you. That was Stephanie Tanner.
Oh.
So, thank you for playing Full House catchphrase. I appreciate it. But there were so many of them. Some that I didn't make you guess were Have Mercy, which was another Uncle Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
We had No Way Jose. I can't remember if I said that. You Got It, Dude. Oh, please. Duh. I like that duh is a catchphrase. But I do remember watching those and being very delighted as a middle schooler, as everyone did their catchphrases. So, I mean, Cool Beans, I can't find footage of it. I'm going to keep trying, but I can see that being said. It kind of sounds more like a Kimmy Gibbler thing, but
yeah,
I could see that being said in Full House. However, that is not, I don't think, where it came from. Some of the other ones that had been, people said they came from. And by the way, like, as I was looking at this one, never before have I looked at a phrase and felt that more people were just screwing around. Like, I think a lot of places were just making up fake stuff.
Right.
Because I don't think that there really is like a clear place it came from, but I'll give you my theory.
Please, sir.
A lot of people from Boston claim it came from the Boston area. People from Southern California claim that it's surfer slang.
So did Tom Brady get credit for, like, as he gets credit for everything else?
Probably. Yeah. I didn't see that, but I'm sure we could find it. Iowa, the Iowan magazine said, hey, Cool Beans is an Iowism, but we don't know where it came from. Again, I'm going to go back to the comments. I'm not going to read them, but you wouldn't believe how many people are going, no, this started in Ohio. No, this started here. And I think it's partially because this did come, in the 20th century. Mm-hmm. Oh, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Apparently that was in 1959. Bob Denver played Maynard G. Krebs.
He was a hippie.
He was a hippie, and he used it. All right, so apologies to Al from San Antonio, who truly does seem to believe that he started Cool Beans because he translated it from Holy for Holies. It's more likely that this is an offshoot of other bean-related idioms.
So there's multiple bean idioms that are out there?
Yes. And by the way, roll that beautiful bean footage from Bush. Somebody I read this long thing where somebody tried to tie together the Bush baked beans. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but
yeah, roll that beautiful bean footage. You don't know what that is? Have you not seen that? You haven't seen Roll That Beautiful Bean footage? Okay, well, guess what? We're going to pause and play that clip.
Okay.
A lot of people want to know what makes Bush's baked beans taste so darn good. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Some think it's our specially cured bacon, our fine brown sugar, or our delicate blend of spices. But the real reason our baked beans taste so good is the Bush Secret Family recipe, which I've shared with only one other soul, and he's not talking.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Uh-oh. Great tasting Bush's baked beans. No one bakes them better.
So I read an article on a website called Broadly by Lauren Ollier, and she wrote this in 2016. And she goes into trying to figure out where did cool beans come from.
So she went on the streets. She went deep cover to figure this out.
Well, she certainly did actual research on it. So now I'm going to piggyback off of that.
All right.
She couldn't figure it out. She had read a bunch of the stuff that I had said also. And she went to a guy named Jonathan Green. And he is one of the world's leading slang lexicographers. He wrote something called Green's Slang Dictionary. You want to make a guess at how much this costs? So if you go to Amazon to try to buy this thing, it's $625 to buy this. I don't know why, but it is. Wow. It's hardback. They're like this big.
Must be out of print.
Yeah, it must be. But it is. He wrote this huge thing about slang dictionary, right? And dives into the etymology. So he says that he believes it was developed from mid-19th century. The term "some beans" used for something that was impressive, like that took some beans, which, yeah.
You're going the same. You're thinking the same thing I was.
Right. So some beans shows up in 1853 in an autobiography. It doesn't say by whom, so it must be somebody not that famous. But there's also the phrase "full of beans," like somebody's full of beans. So he said it comes from some beans, like I said, but also looking at Word Detective, they start talking about all these other bean idioms, right? So I'm just going to run through a few of these and you'll start to realize that we have used bean as it's been very versatile in the idiom game. So a bean counter, right? Somebody that's obsessed with like minor details but misses the big picture. In the 19th century, we started having hill of beans to mean something of little or no value. Didn't care a hill of beans. Not to know beans is like you don't know Jack. You don't know beans. And then not to care beans was also used. Tough beans was used. Like tough luck, who cares? Tough beans. Tough tiddlywinks.
I think these also could be kind of euphemisms, kind of PG versions of something. Because as you're saying, I'm thinking other things that might be said.
Yeah,
so maybe
pretty much.
A way to...
That's a great point. Pretty much all of these you could swap out a vulgar word for. Spilling the beans. Once you spill a basket of beans, it's hard to get them all up, right? Not to know beans, we said. But this one is going to become important here. So forget all the other ones. Full of beans.
Full of beans.
Which in the 19th century meant lively, full of energy. But then it switched up by the 40s, and it meant full of nonsense. So now going back to the Lauren Ollier article and Jonathan Green, who really is an expert on this, he said this all comes back to horse racing.
All right. The sport of kings.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to the classic 20th century sport and pre-20th century. But there was a time not too long ago there was boxing, baseball, and horse racing.
Yep, exactly. So I was very excited when I heard horse racing might be involved. So cool beans, tying back to cool beans, it's nothing more than just using this beans word that we use in a million idioms, but putting cool to say like, yeah, good, I'm happy, I'm whatever. Right. So that people that aren't cool try to sound cool. But the reason it has to do with horse racing is that you would say a horse was full of beans to mean that they are a sprightly horse. So in the late 1800s, I guess, they would say that people would feed beans horses to make them run faster, which, by the way, I would think this is one of those folksy etymologies. It's not real, but this is what Jonathan Green said, who knows his stuff. So what it all ties back to is cool beans comes from the phrase some beans, which stems from full of beans, which unfortunately probably has to do with the fact that horses had gas because they were fed beans, and that is where it comes from. So DJ Tanner may have popularized it, and apparently not Cheech and Chong. Although,
but no one's ever viewed the footage, so potentially, and I don't think we're gonna find out ourselves.
No. So, although actually now that I just thought about horses having gas, it made me think of Kramer and feeding the beefarino.
Rusty.
Yeah. It didn't make him any faster. Rusty.
No.
So there are a bunch of other ones. So that's going to be it on Cool Beans. Now,
Cool Beans.
The next one I'm going to do, there were a lot to choose from because there are so many of these annoying idioms, and I won't go down the list. But if you think about things people say at work all the time, there are a lot. Anywho was in the running. At the end of the day was in the running.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I went with one that I find particularly annoying, which was awesome sauce.
Awesome sauce.
Awesome sauce is just one of the ones that makes me want to feel almost violent when I hear people say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it is just because the word awesome is so overused, and I'm guilty of it too. But
I was about to say, I use the word awesome all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one that definitely has it was you're trying to be cool like in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to be cool and failing at it, and I'm still relying on awesome to push me over the edge.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, awesome is bad enough, and so it does also remind me, we used to, I talk about youth group lingo because youth pastors kind of had a tough job because they had to be cool, but they had to pretend like, or they had to like not be into secular stuff. So the stuff that's actually kind of cool, the music that's kind of cool, the movies you weren't supposed to really be involved in. So you'd make up for it with like saying awesome a lot, like you said. And so before we get into awesome sauce, talk about awesome, the word itself. So awesome obviously is a word. So the root word is awe. And, it's something that was used in the 1700s to mean, awe. So fear, inspiring like fear and dread.
Mm-hmm.
But as time went on, you'd hear the word awesome used as something cool, whereas awful is something bad. But they have the same root word, and one is just some and one is full. So you go, well, what's the difference? Well, over the years, awesome, I guess, became more the positive one, and awful was the bad one. But I want to read you a couple quotes that were taken from the 1800s. So I don't know where these are from, other than they're just quotes from those times. So like in 1870, the quote is, "His truth, his awful holiness," which was meant to be he inspired awe.
Right.
And then the other one is, "Together did the awesome sisters cry." That was from 1880. And that was supposed to mean that they were full of dread at the time because something bad had happened. So they were full of awe, but in the fear and dread way. Awesome was more surfer lingo that came out of the 60s and 70s and started getting used as a catch-all for something that was like totally awesome, radical, Awesome sauce. Do you have any thoughts about awesome sauce?
So I think that's something I don't think I've ever said. And again, I beat awesome to death and probably still say it often. I think just listening to our own recordings, we do that. But awesome sauce, I might have said once or twice, is just like a real placeholder, but never like it meaning anything. I don't think I've ever said it.
I've never said it other than right now in this episode, but do you have but people say it at work, man. So this is another one, again, right up there with Cool Beans, that I despise when people say at work.
Okay.
I had a specific person at my last job that would say it a lot, and it was just every time she said it, it was like she thought she was being clever. She'd be like, awesome sauce, which reminds me of popular culture. Is there a place you remember hearing this or no recently? Discover commercial.
I thought it was going to be Fuller House, which my kid has started to watch.
that would be nice if I could actually tie it to Fuller House, but unfortunately, no. There was a Discover commercial a couple of years ago, which is actually I find their commercials very confusing, where the one person calls up customer service and it turns out to be like their twin.
Yeah. I don't know what they're trying to get at with that.
It's bizarre, but this was one where the girl calls up and she's talking to somebody. Apparently she doesn't know her twin sister works at Discover, because at the end of it, the girl goes, "Awesome sauce," and she goes, "You say awesome sauce? I say awesome sauce." And then she's like, "Wait a minute, you're my twin sister." So.
Discover card.
Hey, so I'm looking at my bill and my FICO credit score is on here.
Yeah, you've got our Discover It card, so you get your FICO score on your monthly statements now for free.
That's nice of you.
It's a great way to stay on top of your credit and make sure things look the way they should.
Awesome sauce.
Huh. My twin sister always says that. Wait, Lisa?
Julie?
I think that is, from a popular culture standpoint, the place that showed up the most recently. If you go to Urban Dictionary, which I actually kind of like Urban Dictionary, like it's kind of funny. And
you've come around on that, because that used to be something that set you off, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, but doing this research, it's in a weird way, I actually like it, because it's irreverent, of course, but it does give you accurate depictions of how it's used. Urban Dictionary describes awesome sauce as a beautifully assonant phrase which can and should be used on any occasion where joy and elation are expressed. So I was like, assonant. I think I kind of know what that means, but I'm not sure. So I looked it up, and assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in nearby words. So it kind of reinforces the meaning of words. Like, it kind of sets a mood based on the fact that you're using the same sound over and over, like specifically vowels. So awesome sauce, right? You get that. And that made sense to me. So you got any thoughts about where you can find assonance in writing or anywhere like that?
Sounds like something that might be common in poetry or songs, but
yep, poetry.
I'm also one of these guys that can't hear pentameter and things like that. It throws me off.
Well, let me give you a couple examples. So you nailed it with poetry, and I never, I've heard this, but now that I got the term for it, it makes a lot of sense. So E.E. Cummings said, "On a proud round cloud in white high night," which sounds very E.E. Cummings. Then it was William Shakespeare who said, "His tender air might bear his memory." So just by saying his tender air might bear, there's a little bit of a flow to it. He could have used other words. Now, let's bring it to more current poets.
Okay.
And I'll start with, actually, I'm going to let you guess who this is.
Okay.
"Oh, there he goes, rabbit. He choked. He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. No, he won't have it. He knows his whole back's to these ropes. It don't matter. He's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stagnant that he knows when he goes back to his mobile home, that's when it goes back to the lab again. Yo."
I was hoping that you were going to go back to Samuel Coleridge.
No.
The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which actually, if you ever listen to the Iron Maiden version of that song, is actually pretty good. And it might make you say, awesome sauce. So I believe the lab part there at the end made me think of Eminem.
You nailed it. That's Eminem.
Who is so old now that I actually know who he is, which means he's no longer anywhere being hip or edgy or current.
So exactly. So rappers use this as a tool, and Eminem is probably the one that uses it most, or is the most famous for using it. I've got some other ones here, but I won't cause any more trauma by rapping into your ears right now. But yeah, so it's that whole thing. So awesome sauce has that assonant thing that we like. So where did it come from? Well, it was around before the Discover commercial. The only place that I could find, and most people say this came from, was Strongbad. So do you remember Homestar Runner by any chance?
I vaguely remember that. That was like a cartoon. It was kind of like memes before memes.
Yeah, it was
almost.
Yeah, it was kind of like when we talked about Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah.
It was like one of the first viral videos. Homestar Runner was one of the first web series.
Yeah.
And frankly, I didn't watch it, but my sister, Amanda, loved it. And she and my dad would sit around and watch it. I remember going to my dad's house, and they'd be in the study on the computer just laughing, watching this thing. And what they loved, their favorite part, was Strongbad responds to emails. So to give you a little taste of that, I want you to hear this clip from Strongbad responding to emails.
Who's that giving Strongbad a hand? Email. Hey, Strongbad, help us come up with a name for our band. I was thinking about Invisible Robot Fish, or For Good or For Awesome. Hurry up, please. We have our first show tomorrow. You rule, Dan. Well, Dan, the easiest way is to, just have a really cool last name and use that. Like Van Halen or Dawkins, or to a lesser extent, Zanoff. And then the other way is to take a really cool word, but then spell it all wrong. Like Lazor, or Big Knife, or something like Tarantula, or maybe like Limousine. These are all great names, and, go ahead and take them. I'm not going to charge you or nothing. Just, put me on the guest list +1 for that show, huh? I'll probably take Pom Pom. He's been pretty cool lately. Okay, so tune in next week when my guest will be Lemmy from Motorhead and the guys from Crocus.
So, he's got this crazy voice, and
right.
It's pretty funny. It's still funny to this day, but the reason it relates to Awesome Sauce is that he actually used this back in 2000. Hold on. I was going to say it. He actually used this in 2003, Strongbad email number 75, called Funny. And in it, somebody spills ketchup all over the keyboard with a ketchup bomb. And so he asked somebody to bring some of that awesome sauce to help clean it up. And then it comes back again in another episode where he puts chemicals in the pool, and one of the chemicals is called awesome sauce. And then they actually have a dictionary, an email dictionary that he breaks out, and he defines sauceum. And he says, so awesome sauce didn't have its own entry, but sauceum did. And he said it in the definition, it's not unlike having the qualities of an awesome sauce. So
now sauceum is something I think I could get behind.
Yeah.
And I think, in the same way we used to discuss Pee Wee Herman every episode, I feel like we keep coming back to Applebee's.
Yeah.
And I could see, Sauceum Saturdays, or maybe even Sauceum Sauce, something that you could put on your baby back ribs, or your for Mutton Mondays, spice it up with some Sauceum Sauce.
I feel like I can hear the promo now. Come on into Applebee's for Mutton Mondays with awesome sauce.
And there's just O'Charlie's lurking in the background. Even though we seem to rag on O'Charlie's, they do have a pretty good chocolate cake, I seem to remember.
O'Charlie's is not bad.
Yeah.
But, it also makes me think of something Guy Fieri would say, too. But I have never heard him say sauceum, but...
He could pull it off.
Well, he's got the donkey sauce.
Yeah.
So...
It's sauceum.
Well, sauce is something that... Oh, and by the way, do you want to get angry? It says, this is supposed to be negative Scott, so I'm going to make you angry.
Sure.
Which is, both awesome sauce and cool beans have recently been added to the Oxford English Dictionary. So, there you go. Sauce.
There's not a sound for the face I just made.
Yeah. So, but sauce is also you've heard weak sauce.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the dictionary too, unfortunately. But it's just a way to sort of punctuate something, sort of like, I guess, cool beans. You add beans to something, and all of a sudden, boom, you got an idiom.
You add sauce to something. You add donkey sauce to something.
You got donkey sauce. You got awesome sauce. And so I do think we have. I do think that the Strongbad thing really helped with this. So, and honestly, awesome sauce isn't that prevalent. It's not something you hear every day, but it's around. It's in the dictionary, and
I could see if there's someone that annoys you, them using this phrase would not endear you to them,
because you can tie them both together with the thing of it's. And I almost feel bad because I'm sitting here. It's not cool people trying to be cool, but
if people are going to who should dictate what's cool?
Yeah.
Fat guys with beards on podcasts should be the people.
I know. We should actually probably be saying awesome sauce, but we're going to be claimed to be way too good for that. But anyway, so I think that's all I wanted to cover. So cool beans, awesome sauce, and maybe in another episode we'll do, Anywho or some of those other annoying ones. But
very good. So coming to an Applebee's near you.
Mondays with
Sauceum.
It's awesome.
And if you run out of money, buy a Holiday Inn Express. There's probably no Charlie's there.
Yes.